What if the weapon systems that dominate the headlines are not the real story? What if the most significant military transformation of the past 72 hours was not a missile launch or a fighter jet strike, but something far less visible? Over 3 consecutive nights, the United States has struck more than 300 Iranian military targets. The footage is dramatic. The explosions are real. But the deeper story is not about what was destroyed. It is about what has been exposed. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps declared the Strait of Hormuz closed. They fired warning shots at commercial vessels. They threatened retaliation. But 800 commercial ships still transited the strait. 400 million barrels of crude oil still moved through it. The IRGC declared the strait closed. The world kept sailing. So the question is not whether the strikes were successful. The question is what the strikes revealed about a system most people never see. On July 10, the IRGC attacked the Cyprus-flagged container ship GFS Galaxy in the Strait of Hormuz. The vessel suffered significant engine room damage. A crew member is still missing. The IRGC then announced the closure of the strait until further notice. Their message was unambiguous: no vessel would be permitted to transit until the United States ended its interference in the region. On the surface, this looked like a bold assertion of Iranian power. The IRGC was using the world's most critical maritime choke point as leverage, threatening to choke off 20% of the world's daily oil supply. But then something happened that most media coverage has not fully captured. The United States did not negotiate. It did not issue a strongly worded diplomatic statement. It responded with a targeting list. NTCOM's statement was delivered, and for words traffic is flowing. That is not a diplomatic response. That is a military verdict delivered in public. To understand what happened, you have to look at the numbers. Night 1, approximately 80 targets struck. Air defense systems, coastal radar installations, missile storage facilities. The foundational layer of the IRGC's ability to see, track, and engage vessels in the strait. Night 2, approximately 90 targets. Naval capabilities, IRGC headquarters facilities, communications infrastructure. The nervous system of the Iranian military's ability to coordinate activities across the coastline. Night 3, 140 targets. Missile and drone sites. Naval capabilities. Ammunition storage. Communication networks. Coastal surveillance locations. The entire remaining architecture. 90, 140. Each package broader and larger than the last. The aircraft involved were some of the most advanced in the world. F-35 seconds operating in their low-minus observable configuration, kicking the door in. F-18 Super Hornets launching precision munitions. F-16 seconds configured with advanced precision kill weapon systems, optimized for the exact kind of high-volume drone targets the IRGC has been deploying most aggressively. The United States was not just hitting targets. It was executing a sequenced, multi-domain strike operation against a single adversary's military infrastructure. And the IRGC had no meaningful ability to interrupt, degrade, or defend against it. The deeper story lies in what the strikes were actually targeting. One of the hardest hit locations was the JAST naval base on the northern coast of the Strait of Hormuz. This is not just a building. It is a multi-function military facility built around 3 primary capability sets. First, long-range radar dishes pointing directly at the strait's choke point. These dishes gave the IRGC the ability to track every vessel moving through the corridor, directing fast boats, drone launches, and missile targeting against specific ships. Second, communications towers and relay infrastructure connecting the base's operational picture to the broader IRGC command network. This allowed real-time coordination of threats across the full geographic extent of the Iranian coastline. Third, electronic warfare and drone control antenna systems extending the IRGC's ability to manage its unmanned aerial vehicle operations over the strait from protected shore-based positions. Remove the communications infrastructure, and the sensors become isolated. Remove the sensors, and the weapon systems become blind. Remove both simultaneously in coordinated strike packages designed to collapse the entire information architecture, and the IRGC's ability to identify, track, and attack commercial vessels ceases to function as a coherent capability. And that is what the strikes have been doing. Not just destroying things, collapsing an integrated military system by systematically eliminating the interconnections that make individual components operationally meaningful. But the IRGC is still firing back. They have ballistic missiles, some with a range of around 1.0 miles. They have the C-800 to anti-ship cruise missile, a reverse-engineered Chinese design capable of threatening ships in the strait from launch positions well inland. The C-802 is a genuine operational concern. It has a relatively small radar cross-minus section compared to a ballistic missile and a flight profile that hugs terrain and sea surface to defeat radar detection. It is a weapon the IRGC can use from interior launch positions to threaten shipping in the Strait without exposing launch vehicles to the kind of radar detection that makes mobile ballistic missile launchers so vulnerable. But here's the part that really stings for Iran's military planners. Every radar site that goes dark from each HARM anti-minus radiation missile is a blind spot that cannot be rebuilt under active American air superiority. Every ammunition depot that goes up in flames is a stockpile of munitions that existed to sustain future operations and no longer does. Every fast boat destroyed by a U.S. attack helicopter is a component of the swarm harassment capability that the IRGC cannot replace in the operational time frame of this conflict. The magazine is finite. It is being burned at an accelerating rate, and the force consuming it has no meaningful mechanism for replenishment in the current operational environment. If the IRGC loses its coastal surveillance grid, how long can it threaten the Strait? If its communications networks are severed, how long can it coordinate? If its ammunition depots are destroyed, how long can it sustain a fight? Now let's step back and look at the deeper strategic picture. The IRGC's operational culture has been built around maritime aggression. It uses the threat of closing the Strait as a negotiation leverage. It uses attacks on commercial shipping as a strategic bargaining chip. But something extraordinary happened in this conflict. The IRGC signed the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding, committing to make arrangements for the safe passage of commercial vessels for 60 days. It was a commitment so limited in scope, so minimal in its operational requirements, that it should have represented the absolute floor of what any party serious about diplomatic engagement could sustain. The IRGC violated it almost immediately. This is not a nuanced diplomatic failure. This is an institution so operationally compelled toward maritime aggression that it could not maintain even a 60-day pause in its attacks without reverting to exactly the behavior the agreement was designed to stop. Now look at what the IRGC has left. The gap between what the IRGC claimed control over the Strait and what the United States delivered 800 ships transiting while American fighter jets provided air cover overhead is a gap that operates on the IRGC's credibility inside Iran, across the region, and within its own proxy networks with a force that no kinetic strike can replicate. Credibility is the IRGC's most important strategic asset in the regional proxy architecture it has spent decades building. The Houthis in Yemen, Hezbollah in Lebanon, Shia militia networks across Iraq. All of them have calibrated their behavior, their commitments, and their risk tolerance